What's not allowed?
Being tired.
No. Oh, shit. Okay.
Not on a Friday. Woo!
Never tired on Friday.
You want to tell the people how your morning started today? You lived the nightmare.
Blow her up.
I'm not going to blow it up. We don't have to share the
I
story.
feel so terrible.
It happens. You know,
Everybody.
I was up late with the baby, and then my alarm went off when it was supposed to, and it's the thing we've been talking about all week, hitting the snooze, and I was like, just 5 more minutes.
You
I
snoozed
feel
too
like
hard.
we jinxed you talking about it.
And then I woke up at 4:15, and I live 40 minutes away,
wow.
and I called Adam in a panic.
Adam's our executive producer.
Yes, sorry. And I was like, I'm so sorry I slept in. He's like, okay. And he was amazing, and he helped me put the weather graphics together while I was curling my hair in the bathroom. Just frantically and so, yeah, and we did it, and you guys, I'm sure were awesome. I wasn't
stumbled
watching. I'm
through the
sorry.
seven
I was
day. No,
running
it's
to
fun.
get
It was
here
fun.
as soon as I could, and then I made it by 5:30.
That's really
It's
the
like
one
a
thing
new
I've never
adventure.
done in this business is weather. They don't let me touch that stuff. There's too much room for ad lib. I could hang myself too easily on
the
that.
first time in 10 years of doing weather that I've ever done that.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah.
The end of a
Wow.
dynasty.
I've only missed like a live shot like once for a morning reporter.
Yeah.
I missed like the first hit, but then I made it. But this was the first time I've ever in 10 years missed weather. I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
It happens. This shift is a wild
guys
shift.
are awesome.
Yeah.
It's surprising it doesn't happen more often, actually, considering.
Thank
I
you
think
for
I've
being a
overslept
wonderful team.
twice
Yeah, on
in
this
my
one.
5 years here.
One of these days, there's just going to be one of us in the studio and be like, where the hell is everybody?
Everybody overslept.
Anyway, happy Friday to you. We try to pull back the curtain a little bit on the after show. We don't play by any rules. It's the internet. We can do whatever we want. That's Jen. I'm Paul, Rachel, and Vanessa hanging out, chatting with you this morning. We want to hear about your dads. Father's Day is coming up this Sunday. Do you have a good dad story to share? A great dad memory? If so, put it in the comment section. We'd be happy to read some of the best responses. In the meantime, you can look at pictures of some of our dads.
So cute.
That's me with my dad.
Where were you guys at? Because you're both dressed up. Fancy.
Roger. Oh, yeah. So we had a big gala I went home to Houston for, and the theme was Under the Big Top. So I was doing like a whole circus thing.
So fun.
Oh, that's my dad, Shane, by the way.
You both got the same polos on?
Yeah, we were out golfing. He lives on this
Looking good.
dinky course called Westburn out in Michigan. It's actually been around for over 100 years. A pretty old course,
Okay.
but that's one of our favorite things to do. My dad didn't teach me how to golf until I was like almost 20 years old. He was a very, very good golfer when he was younger, and he did not pass any of that along to me. That's Emma, by the way, and her dad. And that is Brad, Emma's
So
husband. Well,
cute.
not
No,
that
that's my dad. Yay.
Love it.
I'm glad it made it here because I felt so bad. I didn't make it on the main show, and I'm like, my mom is
I
going
hope
to
your
kill
mom's
me.
not mad. Oh, boy.
one. Look at that young
So
son.
sweet.
You could tell by your dad's face even then. He knew
Yeah.
how much trouble you were going to be.
Hey. Oh, yay. Look how cute.
There's my dad. That was last year in Sedona with baby number 2, right before we found out we were having baby number 3.
I gotta keep it close.
But yeah, my dad's awesome. Him and my mom are always helping with the kids. They love to take him to In-N-Out Burgers. That's what they call it. And they
Burgers.
get
I,
the,
too, like In-N-Out burgers.
the double with the kids. And sometimes I have to say, Mom, no double today. You gotta keep it.
The things my parents
With Ollie.
do for my kids that they would never have done with me. It's shocking. It's nice to be a grandparent. That's
It is.
what I hear.
I let them spoil because I don't. So I figure you gotta have those special memories.
Yeah.
So thanks, Mom and Dad. We appreciate
But do you ever think about it? You're like, you guys didn't treat us that way. Like,
all the
why do my kids
All
get
the
away with
time.
it, you know?
No, my mom sent me a pic because they're in Texas this week hanging out with my mom, and both kids have those giant frozen strawberry swirly drinks, and I'm like, my mom, okay, so my pantry, I was not allowed to have Coca-Cola till I was 13.
Okay.
I was never allowed to have chocolate. I think that's why I'm so messed up. But yes, I was, the whole 9, and my mom's just like, do you want more sugar? How about a lollipop after this? I'm like, who are you?
Yeah.
What happened to the woman who raised me?
Completely changed, yeah.
Making your job a little bit tougher. If you guys have any good dad stories to share, put them in the comment section. We'll share them. In the meantime, do you guys have any good dad stories?
I mean, tons of dads.
I've got a good dad story.
We'll
for
let you go
You
first.
One of the last
I gotta
times I was at home. So my dad is, I believe he's 57 now, but he's starting to act like he's a little older upstairs. Things are slowing down for him a little bit. He's starting to get a little forgetful.
Oh my gosh, everybody who's in their 50s hates you right now.
Right.
I know,
50's the new 40.
Yeah.
Someone in their 40s will tell you.
Yeah, some people are a little more sharp mentally than others, and I'm not saying my dad's an idiot by any stretch, but he's starting to let some things fall through the cracks, and so it's kind of becoming a running joke with me and my brothers that what is dad gonna forget about this year? It's like 3 straight trips home that we've had like a crisis because dad misplaced something. The funniest one though was around Christmas time. 2 years ago. We were going to a Detroit Pistons game the day after Christmas, the 26th, and we're preparing all day to go to this game. We're ready to walk out the door, and Dad can't find his wallet. He keeps everything in like a money clip. That's important to this story because it's not a wallet, it's a money clip. Dad cannot find it. My dad is one of those weirdos that carries a ton of cash with him. There he is. This is the day I gave him that watch, by the way. So he was all excited about the watch, and then he lost his damn money clip. So we're scrambling around the house. We can't find it. It's like, Dad, don't worry about anything at the game. Like, I'll pick it up. It'll turn up eventually. He is convinced that he threw the thing away. He's convinced that it was on the counter with some wrapping paper and someone just shoved it into the garbage and it's gone. Garbage has been taken out. It's been removed.
Geez.
It's long gone. There's no getting it back. So the whole night is just miserable. Like, he is just having the worst time. And you could just tell he's just sitting there and he's just like sweating bullets. Probably lost on like $1,000 of cash, all his cards, wallet, whatever. What a way to celebrate Christmas, right? Yeah. We get a phone call about halftime of the game with a phone call and a picture of message corresponding with it. You'll never guess where I found your money clip. On the bottom of a turkey roasting pan, his magnetic wallet clip has stuck his wallet to the bottom of the roasting pan.
That is hilarious.
And so they didn't put it in the dishwasher because it was too big, so they were scrubbing it out by hand.
Thank goodness.
And when they went to put it away, wait a second.
No way.
What an idiot.
That's
Way to
impressive
go,
that they
Dad.
found it.
Yeah, it is impressive.
I mean,
Oh my God.
I feel like dads always it's always like a nutty professor story with dads, It's always something bizarre. My dad was always like, so he's like a practical joker. He still does the thing where it's like, look, I can take my thumb off. My kids are like, it's like, do you want to see it? Yes, he does the got your nose thing. He does all that. But my kids are always like, we love Granddad. He's got the corniest jokes. It's so funny. But my favorite story about him, that was like just one that comes to mind that my mom always laughs about is, so my dad, if you saw him for the better part of my life, looked like one of the missing members of the Commodores. So he had like the full afro with the lamb chop sideburns, like the whole look. And he would wear sunglasses in the airport. I don't know why. He's that guy.
Cool.
Yeah, so my dad was like kind of like a cool cat, right? So as he started to get older, he finally starts graying, and he's got his cool cat mustache working. So one day we come home, and his mustache that was salt and pepper is jet black. And you know that matte color of just like marker black? And my mom and I are like, what did you do? So what did you do? And he's like, what are you talking about? He would not admit to it. To this day, he would never admit to it. No, he was just like, I don't know what you're talking about.
That is hilarious.
you need to share a picture of that.
Yeah, oh my gosh, it was awful. Bless his heart.
We got some good dad jokes in the comment section here. Jim says, I used to work with my dad, and he would say, or I would say, hey, Dad, and he would say, don't call me that, you can't prove it. It was funny the first 136 times.
Right.
I've never heard that. That's cute.
And Diana says, in response to your situation there, Rachel, that's what grandparents are for, to spoil the grandkid.
It is.
Debbie's showing love to her dad who's passed away. Sorry to hear that, Debbie.
Aww.
I'm sure that he appreciates you nonetheless. Amber's got a good dad story. My dad had a Tim the Toolman Taylor moment.
Yes.
Oh boy. While laying insulation in the attic, he misstepped and then stepped through the drywall. Instead of on a beam, his leg went right through the ceiling. And she was 5 years old. We'll never forget it, and he'll never live it down.
My dad, with his dad joke, was, I'm going to the gym. He's like, tell Jim I said hi. I was like, I'm going to go jump in the shower. He's like, be careful.
It's cute.
It's always good to put a couple dad jokes.
I love it. Let's see Hayden's. Let's see. When I was a young kid, every time a bug would hit the windshield while we were driving, he'd repeat the ultimate dad joke. What's the last thing that went through his head? It's butt, if you're wondering. And I'd laugh every time.
That's a good one.
Dad jokes, it's like you still chuckle.
My dad used to do he'd take the windshield wiper, like the spray function to clean your windshield, and he would like spray and be like, oh, a seagull peed on us. And like, you would get me all worked up as a kid. And he'd be like, oh wait, I bet it's gonna do it again. And he'd hit it, and I would be like, well, I didn't even see the seagull. Total dad move.
That is awesome. My dad's a really serious guy. He worked in IT. He did security. So he didn't have a lot of dad jokes, but I just remember like patience from my dad. So I really have wanted to master snowboarding. It has never happened. Okay. So for like 10 years, my dad just would hit the mountain with me. He'd stay with me. He's a really good skier. He'd be patient and teach me. So finally, at his retirement party in Utah last year, I was like, I'm done. I'm getting the skis, Dad. Let me go with you. And so for the first time in 10 years, I learned how to ski in like 2 seconds, was able to just cruise the mountain with him all day. And it was really, really fun. So
what a
I love
great
skiing with my
memory.
dad. He's 66. He
Yeah.
still skis like he could be on the ski patrol.
That's
It's
amazing.
seriously, it's awesome. So props
We
to
can't
Dad.
say that that's
Yeah.
old anyway, because my mom is like in her early 60s.
Don't
and
say it.
she looks amazing though, and still
Yes.
very active. So everybody's like, she's like, 60 is not old at all. I'm like, you're right. I'm like, look at you. It just
know.
thinks your whole mindset, I think.
You
You
gotta have
know?
good genes.
Yeah.
He is.
Yeah,
So
really good
true.
genes.
Aaron says, my father passed away in February. This Father's Day will be tough, but I still remember when camping at Crown King, my dad was snoring when I was 12. I start to yell, bear, bear, and then I was in the truck. That's pretty funny.
Oh, it's always great to have those memories. One funny story about my dad that I always remember, I used to work at a radio station, as we've noticed. One time I almost gave the radio station phone number instead of
that's
our phone number. And so it was a morning show, and my dad, I had purchased a home, and my dad was helping me revamp it and do things, right? So we had to leave our phones in the office because we couldn't have them. At that time, they weren't as important as they are now, you know? And so my dad calls the radio station, and he's like, I need to talk to Vanessa, like all in a panic and crazy. And I think I've shared this story with you guys before. But he was in a panic and crazy. And so the morning host, he's like, what's going on, Mr. Ramirez? Like, is everything okay? Well, but he goes, oh, the AC guy's at her house. I need to know if I can get in. But like, he scared the whole morning
my
show.
gosh.
He made it so dramatic. And we
Dad
thought something
emergencies.
bad happened, you know? And we're like, what's going on? Like, even we stopped the show to figure out what was going on and why he needed to get a hold of me so bad. And it was just because the AC guy was there at the house.
Oh my
That's
gosh.
funny.
So dramatic.
That's a
Gotta
dad
love it.
crisis.
Yeah.
I
Dad
totally get it.
They're so funny.
We used to, when I was younger, I just turned 21. This is around the time I turned 22 because I remember my 22nd birthday more so than I remember my 21st for a multitude of
Right.
reasons. My dad and my mom were separated at the time. My dad was living somewhere relatively nearby to this place. We used to go on Thursday nights. They had half-off drinks on Thursdays, and this was already a very cheap establishment. So you could go there and get sideways for a couple bucks. And Dad was not getting out much at the time, and I was just barely old enough to get out. And so we would go out and have a few drinks together on Thursday nights. And there was one time, he loves White Russians.
Oh, those are good.
Wow.
Yeah, they're really bad for
But they're
you, though.
strong, right?
Oh
Yeah,
my
well,
gosh.
that can be. Yeah, they can
Can
creep up
be.
on
Like
you for
dairy
sure.
and alcohol.
Yeah,
Kind
that's
of
a
a rule of
bad
thumb
mix.
for
True, yeah.
Almost universally a bad mix. Yeah, and this was a bad mix that night. So the White Russians were pouring for like $1.50 a pop, I think.
Wow.
And so we were ordering doubles. And, a double White Russian for $3. You don't notice until you put a few of them down. We somehow ran up a bar bill of over $100 on the half-off night. And we bought
That's
rounds for people
impressive.
with us
Or
and
really
everything.
sad.
But Dad had too much way too early, and he couldn't cut it like the kids could. And so I don't know, maybe 10 o'clock at night, Dad goes, I'm going to go lay down in my truck. Let me know when we're leaving. Dad is out there passed out in the back of his pickup truck for the rest of the night. And by the time we get to closing time, we're sobering up and getting ready to get out of there. And it's like, I've got to drive his butt home. Like, Dad is KO'd. And so it was like, son needs to make sure the dad gets home safe and sound. But that
Yeah.
was pretty funny. Giving your dad the drunk walk into the house, like,
I know,
come on,
right?
pal,
Put
go
you to
lay
bed,
yourself
tuck
down.
you
And-
Gotta love it.
yeah.
I love Rhonda's story. It's going to take a moment to read it. It says, my dad is an amazing man. Right now, he's 88 years old. When I was 13, he took me on my first date. He took me to the movies, he took me to dinner, and he treated me the way that a man should treat a young lady.
like that.
He walked me to the door. When he got home, he kissed me on the cheek. He explained to me that as I grow up, if a guy did not treat me with the same respect and care, that he had to let him know. Basically, like teaching her the manners, you know, that how a
That is
man's treated.
awesome.
That is so sweet. Great memory.
Yeah. It's so important, the relationship between fathers and daughters, for sure, because it does form your expectations.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, in a lot of good ways, or it could be bad ways, but yeah, for sure. It's very important.
One more from Paige here. My dad used to cook gumbo for half the band before Friday games. He put out a mess of hot sauces. Loved to watch all those boys burn themselves. Lots of laughs, crackers, and milk. Gumbo Fridays were the best, and he loved those boys. Thanks for sharing that story, Paige.
Oh, great stories you guys are sharing.
I gotta
with
give
us.
props to my husband. He gets up with our 3 kids every morning. They're all under the age of 4 while I'm
my
here
gosh.
working. Gets them out the door, drives all the way to downtown Phoenix for work, doesn't skip a beat, comes home, and as soon as he gets home, the kids know it's time to play.
Yeah.
Every night. And so I love that. I just love that he has
Aw.
so much fun. So thanks, baby.
You have a
We
good
appreciate
hubby.
you.
Father's Day.
He's awesome.
Aw.
My dad was the first one that got me interested in sports. For those of you who don't know anything about my career arc, I was a sports guy right up until this job. I'd done sports my whole TV career. And I think it started at a very young age. I used to stay up and watch Red Wings hockey games. And this is before the age of the internet, so you'd have to wait for the newspaper to come out the next day if you wanted scores or anything like that. But I did him one better. I would hand write him box scores and summaries of the games. So dad worked overnight, so he would get in at 2 or 3 in the morning. He'd be coming home. But I would stay up and I'd watch the Red Wings games, and I would take pieces of paper and I would even draw some of the stuff that happened, and I would write like details about who took penalties and what happened in the final score and who got the goals or whatever. And I would always leave them out on the counter for him to check. So as soon as he walked in at 2 in the morning, he could check the Red Wings score, courtesy his very young
That's pretty
journalist
cool.
at the time. I wonder if he
really
saved
cute.
any of those. I'd love to see
I
those
know.
nowadays.
That
you
would
know?
be
ask
cool
him.
to see.
Tip to all the dads out there, save stuff like that. That's
Yeah.
worth way
So
more than
cute.
anything else.
Yeah, my dad was responsible probably for my love for music. He was super into Motown music and kind of that era. So I love all of that, and so it's just been one of those things that I grew to my 70s. I think I'm a
Yeah.
child. I should have been, hitting the Studio 54 if I was born a little earlier. But yeah, he just loves music and sound, and so we love going to live shows together and all that kind of thing. And
So fun.
yeah, because he was an ear, nose, and throat doctor, so he's super into sound quality and vocal and acoustics and all that. So yeah, so it was always fun.
I definitely got my work ethic from my dad. He was a hustler and worked hard, multiple jobs, and just made sure he was always on the go and always working, no matter what, and never complained.
That's
and I'm
you.
like, yeah, that's me. I'm like, I'm definitely.
Like 8 jobs.
Yeah. I
Just hear
definitely
the
got it
first
from
one
him.
of the day.
You talk about music. Is there one song that reminds you of your dad? Like for me, it's an entire album. It was James Taylor's Greatest Hits. I remember we had a cassette of it when I was really, really little, and that used to be like what we'd throw in the cassette player when stuff was getting done around the house. Mom's running the vacuum, Dad's doing the dishes, and James Taylor was blaring. I could sing every song on that album front to back. I remember it so vividly.
My dad was Smokey Robinson because he kind of looked like him when he got over the Commodore phase. Then he got into the Smokey phase, and literally when we would go to LA, people would ask him for his autograph in those
You
days.
did say that,
Because
yeah.
they thought he looked like Smokey. Lionel Richie met him one time and was like, "Hey, you look like Smokey." So it's so Smokey Robinson songs.
That's cute. 3, okay?
Okay.
So the 3 tenors, because whenever we clean the house in the summer, I don't know, my parents would blare the 3 tenors
Yeah.
in our house. Also, Cool 94.5. If anybody else remembers jamming out to that in the car, early days here in the Valley. And ABBA, I don't know,
ABBA, yeah.
I don't know how to say it. I'm sorry. I know it's very
No Dancing Queen for you?
No, I'm not a huge fan, but I don't know. My dad just loved
ABBA.
kind
It
of
was-
random.
yeah, it
He's
was a
not an
big
ABBA
thing.
kind of a guy, but he loved it.
All right, let's take a quick break from this discussion and get to our ICYMI. In case you missed Today in AZ this morning, we always have a little bit of fun on the show. Check this clip out.
And then Sunday, Father's Day, is going to be a little toasty for Dad, but you're at brunch. Send them to the Misters.
You're just giving them the silver lining throughout the entire
I'm trying to
forecast. I like
plan your
this.
weekend for you. It's sunny and seasonal. It's Arizona. What can you do? Our 7-day forecast is looking pretty good as well. We're going to get up to 105 by Wednesday, 106 on Thursday. But then I'm told we're going to cool down for maybe next weekend.
I know we're going to see some storms in that forecast eventually, but clear despite the start of monsoon, Vanessa.
Hey, I'm okay with that because I'm going to be hanging out at the pool this weekend, you know?
Again, can you?
I'm not telling you which pool I'm going to this weekend, Paul. You're going to have
Third
to.
summer in a row you've kept that info from me.
I don't want you to show up where I'm at, okay?
You know I don't like being outside without my shirt on. You know I wouldn't do that to you.
And your hat and your sunglasses and lots of sunblock, as long as you're bringing the refreshments, we might be okay. Yeah, so maybe if you bring some drinks, I'll let you know
yeah.
where I'll be at.
Typical treatment for a man. They let the women in for free at the club, but I got to pay. I got to BYOB. I get it. I see how
You
it
don't have a tray of drinks. I don't think you're going to Vanessa's pool.
Yeah.
I'm not hanging out in those places. I'm getting a little too old and slow for that. The dad bod is prohibitive.
That's in style now, though.
Check in.
Yeah.
We're telling
Learned
everybody.
that today.
I don't get it, but yeah.
Sure.
I know that you're not a fan. All right, we got some more dad stories here. Beverly, when I was a teen, this is pre-cell phone era, Dad would come home. I'd ask, Daddy, did anyone call for me? His response was, a squirrel. He was looking for a nut. I would be furious. Another hockey
worst
story.
with those.
Oh, I know, right? This one from Rebecca. My dad would take me to Sabres hockey games with his friends and their sons all the time. When I was a kid, I was his boy since he didn't have any sons. And one night, when the Sabres had a win a free turkey if you shoot a puck into a small hole contest, no one in the group could do it except for me. He loved bragging about his daughter making the shot, especially since I was much younger than the rest of the sons there.
Oh, nice.
I love it. Earlier this morning, we showed, I wish we had it, the Budweiser commercial. That made all of us tear up. And it was giving a shout out to all the stepdads and all the dads that are stepping up that aren't,
Adopted
you know,
dads.
blood related. Yeah, and they were, so in the commercial, the kids are asking them to adopt them, to legally adopt them. And then there was that one where the daughter was like, will you walk me down the aisle and like give me away? And I was like, oh my gosh, how are we going to go through the rest of the show?
So if you want a good cry today,
Yes.
apparently you can find it on YouTube. It's the Budweiser Father's Day Stepdad Tribute. And
Yeah.
it is like,
It was
seriously
so
get
good.
chills. And the
know.
dad, these big grown hulking men,
Yeah.
the one was fishing, he starts literally collapsing into tears. It's amazing.
It's a great, great commercial. I love it.
I don't want to leave any dad stories on the table here out of respect to these men that have raised our lovely commenters. This one from Valerie. My dad traveled 5 hours to watch his first grandchild born. He's now so attached to both of his grandbabies. He's been the best grandpa, just like he was the best dad.
Yeah.
Beverly says, whenever I hear Brooke Benton Christmas music or Ray Charles, she thinks of
Ray Charles.
Ooh, that's pretty sweet.
And this one from Amy. My dad died when I was about 10 years old, but I remember him always eating ice cream and fruit. He loved spoiling me with ice cream and then giving me fruit to make up for all the ice cream.
Yeah.
Counter
Life is
dad
about
logic.
balance. Yeah. One long one here from Rena. My dad, Jimmy John Sr., was the greatest dad. I did a lot with him when I was growing up. I remember we had no running water, so we would haul water with a horse-drawn wagon and took some metal barrels to the windmill. We used to plant corn. He was also a firefighter. Went all over the U.S. in Alaska, was a bus driver for 25 years at Rock Point Community School, which is in the northern part of the Navajo Reservation. He retired from there. My dad was a jack of all trades. He helped my mom raise 5 boys and 5 girls. He loved to joke around and had so many stories to tell. I miss my dad so much. I know he's with us spiritually. Happy Father's Day in heaven. Thank you for sharing that story with
You
us.
know that one gave me chills
Thank you
too.
for sending such good stories. I know.
All right, last one from Laura, and then we can wrap it up. My dad is the most incredible person. When I was little, he would totally take something apart and put it back together
Yeah.
without the parts, and the thing still worked. He's older and has fought cancer 4 times counting now. He's a fighter and will not go down easily. I'm proud of having that role model in my life. Laura, we wish your father and
prayers,
your family the very
prayers.
best. Did your dad ever take stuff apart and put it back together?
Oh,
all the time, right? That's a dad move.
My dad loved it. He could do anything.
yeah, I have to share this before we go. So, okay, my dad helped remodel my house, right? But he had his own way of doing everything. So now that things are slowly starting to break or whatever, I'll have somebody come in and try to repair,
gosh.
and they're like, "Who did this?"
My dad 100% the same way. When my house was being built, he was like, I'm not going to pay a company to do the drywall
Yeah.
or the electrical or whatever. And there are constant problems, and we just laugh about it now. It's like, well, Dad did the friggin' electrical in the
Yeah.
house, so what are you going to
Dad
do?
should not do electrical unless certified in general.
We will leave you with that pro tip.
Yeah.
Happy Father's Day to all the dads and soon-to-be dads out there. Thank you for spending your morning with us. We'll see you Monday, 7:30 for another edition of The After Show.
Have a great
Be
weekend.
good, people.